Captain Jake Morrison stood on the command deck of the USS Blackstar, his eyes fixed on the enormous viewing wall that displayed the endless void of space. His vessel drifted quietly at the border of human territory, hidden from all detection systems by cutting-edge invisibility technology. They had been observing a conflict that was destroying this section of the galaxy for 3 whole months now. "Captain, another signal is coming through from the war zone," announced Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes from her combat station. Her voice carried barely controlled fury. "It's those Zephyrian forces again. They just finished striking the Rimworld settlements." Morrison's muscles tensed. The Rimworld settlements were peaceful farming communities that had nothing to do with the brutal conflict between the Zephyrian Empire and the Catherine Republic. Simple people who only wanted to grow food and care for their families in safety. "Display it on the main screen," Morrison commanded. The viewing wall blazed to life with scenes that made everyone on the command deck freeze in stunned silence. Cities consumed by flames, ruined farmland, escape vessels fleeing desperately through the darkness, only to be tracked down and obliterated by Zephyrian warships. The alien forces showed no compassion to anyone who crossed their path. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez shook his head in revulsion. "Those creatures, they're not even attacking soldiers down there. Just families trying to get away." Communications. Officer Amy Carter brushed tears from her cheeks as she watched a refugee transport burst into flames on the screen. "How many souls were aboard that vessel?" she whispered. "Sensors indicate approximately 2,000, Hayes responded, her voice barely steady. "Men, women, children, all gone because they were in the wrong place when this conflict erupted." Morrison had witnessed enough. He turned away from the display. "Shut it off." The command deck returned to darkness, showing only the stars. But everyone could still picture those burning cities in their thoughts. This conflict had been raging for 2 years now, growing more vicious with each passing day. The Zephyrians and Catherines despised each other so intensely that they would annihilate entire worlds just to deny them to their enemies. "Sir, incoming. Signal from Earth Command," Carter reported. "It's Admiral Karen Phillips, highest priority." "Connect her through," Morrison ordered. The screen flickered and Admiral Phillips materialized. She was a seasoned woman with silver hair and exhausted eyes. Morrison could see the weight of command etched across her features. "Captain Morrison, I'm afraid I bring troubling news," she started without pleasantries. "Our diplomatic mission to both alien powers has completely collapsed. Ambassador Chen attempted everything, but neither side will even discuss peace negotiations." Morrison nodded. He had anticipated this outcome. "What exactly did they tell us, Admiral?" Phillips looked even more weary. "The Zephyrians informed our ambassador that humans are insignificant insects who should stay away from matters that don't involve us. The Catherine said nearly identical words. Both empires consider us too small and worthless to matter. And our proposal to assist the refugees," Morrison asked, though he already suspected the answer. "Refused by both sides. They declared that any human vessel found in their territory will be eliminated immediately. They don't want our assistance and they don't want us interfering with their war." Phillips paused, then continued. "But that's not the most disturbing part, Jake." Morrison felt ice form in his stomach. "What else?" "Both empires have begun targeting our trade routes. 3 of our commercial vessels were destroyed yesterday. The aliens claimed they were transporting supplies to their enemies." Phillips's voice grew harsh. "They weren't. They were ordinary cargo ships carrying medicine and food to our outer settlements." Hayes looked up from her station. "Admiral, what were the casualties?" 847 people, Phillips replied, "including the crew of the medical ship Mercy. They were carrying supplies to help sick children on New Boston." The command deck fell silent. Everyone knew the Mercy. It was a hospital ship that traveled between human settlements, bringing medical care to places that needed it most desperately. The crew were healers and caregivers, not warriors. Rodriguez slammed his fist against his console. "They murdered doctors and nurses, people who were trying to help sick children." Morrison felt rage building inside him, but he kept his voice controlled. "Admiral, what are our instructions?" Phillips leaned forward on the screen. The Security Council has reached its decision, Captain. We attempted diplomacy. We tried to remain neutral. We tried to help their victims. None of it succeeded. Both alien empires have made it clear that they view humanity as weak and easy to intimidate. She paused, looking directly at Morrison. They're about to discover how mistaken they are. Morrison straightened. Are we entering into war, Admiral? We're already at war, Jake. They began it when they started targeting our civilians. But we're going to end it. Phillips's expression grew cold. The restraints are off, Captain. Both alien empires think humans are weak because we choose peace over war. They think we can't fight because we try to avoid fighting. Morrison felt a smile forming on his face. It wasn't a pleasant expression. They have no understanding of what we're truly capable of. Exactly. For too long, we've allowed other species to think we're just another helpless race that can be pushed around. It's time to reveal the truth. Phillips looked at each person on the command deck. Captain Morrison, you and the crew of the Blackstar have new orders. You are authorized to engage both alien empires with maximum force. Show them what happens when you threaten human civilians. Hayes looked up from her station. Admiral, are we discussing limited engagement or complete war? Phillips didn't hesitate. Complete war, Commander. Both empires have chosen to target our innocent people. They've rejected every attempt at peace. They think humanity is weak and defenseless. Her voice grew deadly serious. Show them why humanity doesn't start fights. We finish them. Morrison nodded. Understood, Admiral. When do we begin? Immediately. Intelligence reports that a Zephyrian fleet is advancing toward the New Denver colony. 43 ships, including 3 of their massive battle cruisers. They plan to attack the colony in 18 hours. Morrison looked at Hayes. Time to intercept? Hayes checked her instruments. If we depart now and push the engines to maximum, we can reach New Denver in 16 hours, sir. Morrison turned back to Admiral Phillips. We'll be there, Admiral. The Zephyrians won't understand what hit them. Phillips nodded. Good hunting, Captain, and Jake, make sure none of their ships escape. We want them to wonder what happened to their fleet. The transmission ended, leaving the command deck in darkness again. Morrison looked around at his crew. These were good people, all of them. They had joined the space service to explore the galaxy and help protect human settlements. None of them had wanted war, but war had found them anyway. Morrison walked to his command chair and settled into it. Carter, send a message to all departments. Battle stations in 1 hour. We're going to war. Amy Carter's fingers flew over her controls. Message sent, sir. Morrison looked at the viewing wall where the stars waited silently. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were planning to attack more human settlements. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans would flee when faced with superior numbers. They were about to learn the greatest mistake of their lives. Hayes, prepare the weapon systems. Rodriguez, I want maximum power to the engines. Johnson, plot a course for New Denver. Morrison's voice was calm, but everyone could hear the steel underneath. It's time to show these aliens what happens when they threaten our people. The USS Blackstar turned toward its destination, invisible to all sensors, carrying death toward an enemy that had no idea it was coming. The USS Blackstar emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Denver system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the command deck, watching as his sensors detected the approaching Zephyrian fleet. 43 alien warships were moving toward the peaceful human settlement, ready to destroy another group of innocent people. Report, Morrison commanded. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes checked her instruments. Zephyrian fleet is 2 hours from New Denver, sir. They're moving in standard attack formation. 3 heavy battle cruisers leading with destroyers and cruisers spread out behind them. Communications Officer Amy Carter looked up from her station. Sir, I'm intercepting their communications. They're laughing about how easy this will be. They think New Denver has no defenses. Morrison's face grew hard. New Denver was a farming settlement with barely 50,000 people. Most of them were families who had moved there to start new lives, growing food for other human worlds. They had no military ships, no weapons that could stop a fleet this size. Chief Rodriguez, what's our stealth status? Morrison asked. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez smiled from his position. We're completely invisible, Captain. Their sensors can't detect us. As far as they know, there are no human military ships in this system. Morrison nodded. The Blackstar was humanity's most advanced stealth ship. It could move through space without being detected, even by the most sensitive alien sensors. The Zepyrians had no idea death was approaching them. Commander Brooks, are our weapons ready? Morrison asked his weapons officer. Commander Ryan Brooks checked his controls. All systems ready, sir. Quantum torpedoes loaded and targeting systems online. Energy cannons charged to full power. Gravitational weapons standing by. Morrison walked to the center of the command deck. For months, he had watched these aliens destroy peaceful worlds and kill innocent people. He had seen them hunt down refugee ships and murder children who had done nothing wrong. Now it was time to show them what real power looked like. Dr. Price, remind me how our weapons work compared to theirs, Morrison said to his science officer. Dr. Helen Price looked up from her instruments. Their technology is based on brute force, sir. Big guns, thick armor, strong shields. They build everything to be as powerful as possible, but they never learned about precision. She pointed to her screen, which showed detailed scans of the alien ships. Our quantum torpedoes can phase through their shields like they don't exist. Our gravitational weapons create artificial black holes that crush their hulls no matter how thick the armor is. And our energy cannons use focused particles that cut through their strongest materials like paper. Morrison smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. And they have no idea any of this exists. Hayes looked at her captain. Sir, the Zepyrian fleet commander is trying to contact New Denver. He's demanding they surrender. Put it on speaker, Morrison ordered. The command deck filled with the harsh voice of the alien commander. His name was War Admiral Zextai, and he was known throughout this part of the galaxy for his cruelty. Weak humans of New Denver, you will surrender immediately. Your pathetic species thinks it can hide from the mighty Zepyrian Empire. We will show you the price of weakness. Another alien voice joined in, laughing. Look at them, War Admiral. They're not even trying to fight. Humans are the most cowardly species in the galaxy. They run away from every real battle. War Admiral Zextai laughed too. Yes, they talk about peace and cooperation, but that's just because they're too weak to fight. After we destroy this colony, we'll hunt down every human ship we can find. The galaxy will be better without these insects. Morrison had heard enough. Carter opened a channel to the Zepyrian fleet. Amy Carter's hands moved over her controls. Channel open, sir. Morrison's voice was calm and cold. Zepyrian fleet, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Blackstar. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. The alien laughter stopped. War Admiral Zextai's voice came back confused and angry. What human ship dares to threaten the Zepyrian Empire? Show yourself, coward. Morrison looked at his crew. Every person on the command deck was ready. They had all seen the recordings of alien attacks on human civilians. They had all watched innocent people die because these creatures thought humans were weak. Hayes, drop the stealth field, Morrison ordered. The USS Blackstar appeared on every Zepyrian sensor at once. The alien fleet suddenly found themselves facing a ship unlike anything they had ever seen. The Blackstar was twice the size of their largest battlecruiser, covered in weapons they didn't recognize and radiating power levels that made their instruments scream warnings. War Admiral Zextai's voice came over the radio again, but now it sounded worried. One ship? You think one human ship can face the entire Zepyrian battle fleet? We have 43 warships, you have only one. Morrison's smile grew wider. Commander Brooks, show them what one human ship can do. Brooks's hands moved over his weapons controls. Firing quantum torpedoes. 6 blue lights shot from the Blackstar toward the Zepyrian fleet. The aliens tried to raise their shields and turn their ships to avoid the attack. But the quantum torpedoes passed through their shields like they weren't there and struck 6 Zepyrian cruisers. The alien ships exploded instantly. Their thick armor and powerful shields meant nothing against weapons that attacked at the quantum level. In 3 seconds, 6 enemy warships became expanding clouds of burning metal. The Zepyrian fleet stopped moving. War Admiral Zextai's voice came over the radio, no longer laughing. Impossible. Our shields were at full power. How did your weapons penetrate them? Morrison didn't answer. Instead, he nodded to Brooks again. Gravitational weapons. Target their battle cruisers. 3 points of absolute darkness appeared next to the largest Zephyrian ships. The artificial black holes created by human technology began pulling at the alien vessels with impossible force. The thick armor that protected them from normal weapons crumpled like paper. The mighty battlecruisers were crushed into balls of twisted metal in seconds. Now the Zephyrian fleet was trying to escape. Their remaining ships turned away from New Denver and began accelerating as fast as they could, but they were too slow. Energy cannons, Morrison ordered. Don't let any of them get away. Beams of pure energy shot from the Blackstar, each one perfectly aimed. The focused particle beams cut through Zephyrian ships like a sword through cloth. Hulls split open, engines exploded, life support systems failed. One by one, the Zephyrian warships died. Their advanced technology, their thick armor, their powerful weapons meant nothing against humanity's precision engineering. In less than 10 minutes, 43 alien warships had been reduced to scattered debris. War Admiral Zextai's ship was the last one left. Morrison could see on his screen that the alien commander was trying desperately to send a message to his home fleet, but Carter was jamming all their communications. Zephyrian commander. "This is your final warning," Morrison said. "Surrender now or join the rest of your fleet." Zextai's voice came back filled with fear and rage. "This is impossible. Humans are weak. You're supposed to be cowards who run from battle. How do you have weapons like this?" Morrison's voice was ice cold. "You made a mistake, Zextai. You thought we were weak because we prefer peace. You thought we couldn't fight because we try to avoid fighting. But there's a difference between choosing not to fight and being unable to fight." He paused, looking at the last Zephyrian ship on his screen. "We tried to make peace with your empire. We tried to help the victims of your war. You rejected our help and started killing our civilians. Now you're learning what happens when you force humanity to fight." The last Zephyrian ship exploded in a ball of fire. War Admiral Zextai and his crew joined the thousands of alien warriors who had thought humans were easy prey. Morrison looked around his command deck. His crew had just won humanity's first battle in this war. But he knew it was only the beginning. "Rodriguez, I want those debris fields scattered. Use our gravitational weapons to make it look like the ships had engine failures and exploded on their own." Rodriguez nodded. "Already working on it, sir. When other Zephyrian fleets find this wreckage, they'll think it was an accident," Morrison said. "Good. Let them wonder what happened to their missing fleet. Fear of the unknown is sometimes more powerful than fear of a known enemy." Hayes looked at her captain. "Sir, what's our next target?" Morrison smiled. The Zephyrians and Catherines had started this war by attacking innocent humans. Now they were going to learn why that was the biggest mistake they could have made. "Set course for the Catherine system of Vorak Prime. I believe it's time we introduced ourselves to the other side of this war." 2 weeks had passed since the destruction of War Admiral Zextai's fleet at New Denver. The USS Blackstar had spent that time moving through space like a ghost, striking at both Zephyrian and Catherine forces whenever they threatened human settlements or innocent civilians. Captain Jake Morrison stood on his command deck, watching the tactical display that showed the Vorak Prime system. This was the heart of Catherine military power, where Admiral Keithmore commanded their most powerful battle group. Today, both alien empires would finally learn who had been destroying their fleets. "Captain, we're detecting massive fleet movements in the system," reported Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes. "The Catherines have assembled over 60 warships around their main base. But there's something else." Morrison raised an eyebrow. "What else?" Hayes checked her instruments again. "Sir, there's a Zephyrian fleet here too. 37 ships. It looks like both empires are working together for the first time in this war." Communications Officer Amy Carter looked up from her station. "I'm picking up their communications, sir. They're talking about the mysterious disappearances of their fleets. They think there's some kind of new weapon or unknown enemy attacking both sides." Morrison smiled grimly. For 2 weeks, the Blackstar had been systematically destroying alien military forces throughout this region of space. Every time a Zephyrian or Catherine fleet moved to attack human settlements, they simply vanished. No distress calls, no survivors, no evidence of what had happened to them. Dr. Price, what's the status of our new systems? Morrison asked his science officer. Dr. Helen Price looked up from her instruments with excitement in her eyes. The dimensional phase drive is working perfectly, Captain. We can now move through normal space in ways that completely violate alien understanding of physics. To their sensors, we'll appear to be in multiple places at once. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez grinned from his station. And the new weapon systems are online too, sir. We've got enough firepower to take on both fleets at the same time. Morrison nodded. The Blackstar had been upgraded during their journey to Vorak Prime. Human engineers working around the clock had installed experimental technology that would make this ship even more devastating than before. Lieutenant Commander Johnson, position us between both fleets, Morrison ordered his navigation officer. Lieutenant Commander Pete Johnson's hands moved over his controls. Sir, that will put us in the middle of nearly 100 enemy warships. Are you sure about this? Morrison looked around his command deck at the faces of his crew. These people had watched alien empires murder human civilians for months. They had seen refugee ships destroyed and peaceful settlements burned. Now it was time to end this war once and for all. I'm sure, Johnson. Take us in. The USS Blackstar moved toward the center of the Vorak system, still invisible to all sensors. The two alien fleets were positioned on opposite sides of the system, their hatred for each other temporarily forgotten, as they tried to figure out what had been destroying their ships. Carter, open a channel to both fleets, Morrison ordered. Amy Carter's fingers flew over her controls. Channel open to all ships, sir. Morrison's voice echoed across space to nearly 100 alien warships. This is Captain Jake Morrison of OE, the USS Blackstar. I am speaking to the commanders of both the Zephyrian and Catherine fleets. Silence filled the communication channel. Then Admiral Keith Moore's deep voice came through the speakers. Human captain, show yourself. How do you dare enter our system with only one ship? War Commander Vexilon of the Zephyrian fleet added his voice. Yes, foolish human. We have nearly 100 warships here. Your single vessel will be destroyed in minutes. Morrison looked at his weapons officer. Commander Brooks, drop our stealth field and power up all weapons. The USS Blackstar appeared on every sensor screen in the system at once. But this time something was different. The ship seemed to shimmer and shift, appearing to be in several different locations simultaneously. The alien sensors couldn't get a solid lock on its position. Admiral Keith Moore's voice came over the radio, confused and worried. What kind of technology is this? Our targeting systems cannot fix on your vessel. Morrison's voice was calm and cold. Gentlemen, for months your empires have been destroying innocent worlds and murdering civilians. You rejected our offers of peace. You attacked our shipping and killed our people. You thought humanity was weak because we preferred diplomacy to war. He paused, letting his words sink in. You were wrong. War Commander Vexilon sounded angry. Impossible. Humans are the weakest species in this part of the galaxy. You have no real military power. You survive only because stronger races allow you to exist. Morrison smiled. Johnson, execute Pattern Alpha 7. The USS Blackstar began moving in ways that should have been impossible. The ship seemed to fold space around itself, appearing and disappearing at different points throughout the system. To the alien fleets, it looked like there were multiple human ships attacking from all directions at once. All weapons. Fire at will, Morrison commanded. The space around Vorak Prime lit up with destruction. Quantum torpedoes phased through alien shields and destroyed ships from the inside. Gravitational weapons created artificial black holes that crushed entire squadrons of enemy vessels. Energy cannons cut through the strongest armor like it was, made of paper. But the most terrifying thing for the aliens was that they couldn't fight back. Every time they tried to target the human ship, it vanished and appeared somewhere else. Their most advanced targeting computers couldn't track something that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Admiral Keith Moore watched in horror as his flagship's sister ship was torn apart by weapons he didn't understand. This is impossible. No single ship can have this much firepower. How many vessels are you really commanding? Morrison's voice came back, still calm. Just one, Admiral. This is what happens when you underestimate human engineering. Within 10 minutes, half of both alien fleets had been destroyed. The survivors were trying desperately to escape, but the Blackstar was faster than anything they had ever seen. It chased down fleeing ships and destroyed them one by one. War Commander Vexilon's voice came over the radio, filled with panic. We surrender. Please. We surrender. Stop this destruction. Morrison's voice was ice cold. You didn't offer surrender to the civilians you murdered. You didn't show mercy to the refugee ships you hunted down. Why should I show you mercy now? More alien ships exploded. Admiral Keithmore tried a different approach. Captain Morrison, surely you don't want to commit genocide. We can negotiate an end to this war. Morrison paused the attack. You want to negotiate? Fine. I'll give you the same terms you offered our settlements. Unconditional surrender or complete destruction. Choose now. The alien commanders were silent for a long moment. Finally, Admiral Keithmore spoke. What are your terms for surrender? Morrison looked around his command deck. His crew had fought bravely to protect human lives. Now they had the chance to end this war and save both human and alien lives. All military operations against human targets will cease immediately. Both of your empires will withdraw all forces from human space. You will provide full compensation for the civilian ships and settlements you destroyed. And you will submit to human oversight of your military forces until we are satisfied that you can be trusted not to attack innocent people again. War Commander Vexilon sounded outraged. Those terms are impossible. We cannot accept human oversight of our military. Morrison's voice became deadly serious. Then you choose destruction. The USS Blackstar resumed its attack. More alien ships died, their crews screaming in terror as human weapons tore through their vessels like paper. The remaining ships scattered in all directions, trying desperately to escape. But Morrison wasn't finished. Carter, record this message and broadcast it to the home worlds of both empires. Amy Carter nodded. Recording, sir. Morrison looked directly into the camera. To the leaders of the Ziperian Empire and the Catherine Republic, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel USS Blackstar. Your fleets have been destroyed. Your most powerful commanders are dead or captured. This war ends now. He paused, letting the image of burning alien ships fill the screen behind him. For too long you have terrorized innocent worlds and murdered peaceful people. You thought humanity was weak because we tried to make peace with you. You were wrong. Morrison's expression grew harder. Humanity does not start wars, but we finish them. You have seen what one human ship can do to your combined fleets. We have many more ships just like this one. Continue your attacks on human targets or innocent civilians, and we will end both of your empires completely. The recording ended. Carter began broadcasting it to every world in both alien empires. Morrison sat back in his command chair and looked at the wreckage floating around Vorak Prime. Nearly 100 alien warships had been reduced to scrap metal in less than 30 minutes. The most powerful military force either empire had ever assembled was gone. Hayes looked up from her tactical station. Sir, we're detecting emergency transmissions from both alien homeworlds. Their governments are calling emergency sessions. Morrison nodded. Good. Let them discuss what they've learned today. Johnson, set course for Earth. I think it's time we reported back to Admiral Phillips. As the USS Blackstar turned toward human space, Morrison knew the war was far from over. But today, both alien empires had learned an important lesson about underestimating humanity. 3 weeks after the destruction at Vorak Prime, emergency alarms rang throughout the command deck of the USS Blackstar. Captain Jake Morrison rushed from his ready room to find his crew working frantically at their stations. Report, Morrison ordered as he took his command chair. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes looked up from her tactical display, her face pale. Sir, long-range sensors are detecting a massive fleet movement toward Earth. Both the Ziperian Empire and Catherine Republic have combined their remaining forces. We're looking at over 10,000 warships. Morrison felt his blood run cold. 10,000 ships was the largest military force ever assembled in known galactic history. How long until they reach Earth? At their current speed, 4 days, Hayes replied. Sir, this is their entire combined fleet. Every battleship, cruiser, destroyer, and support vessel both empires have left. They're coming to destroy humanity's home world. Communications officer Amy Carter turned from her station. Captain, I'm picking up their broadcast transmissions. They're calling this the final solution to the human problem. They plan to eliminate every human in the galaxy. Morrison stood up, his hands clenched into fists. The alien empires had decided that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to exist. Rather than accept defeat, they were gambling everything on one massive attack against Earth itself. Carter, get me Admiral Phillips immediately, Morrison ordered. The viewing wall lit up, with Admiral Phillips's tired face. Behind her, Morrison could see the frantic activity of Earth Command's war room. Jake, please tell me you have good news. Morrison shook his head. I'm afraid not, Admiral. The combined alien fleet will reach Earth in 4 days. They're bringing everything they have left. Admiral Phillips closed her eyes for a moment. Our home defense fleet has only 300 ships, Jake. Even with our advanced technology, we can't face odds like that. Morrison looked at his crew. These brave men and women had fought alongside him for months, watching him destroy alien fleets with seemingly impossible ease. But even the mighty Blackstar couldn't face 10,000 enemy ships alone. Admiral, there's something I need to tell you, Morrison said slowly. The Blackstar was never meant to fight this war alone. Phillips raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Morrison smiled for the first time in days. Admiral, the USS Blackstar was a prototype. We've been testing new weapons and technology for the past year, but we weren't the only ship being built. The viewing wall split, showing Admiral Phillips and another figure Morrison knew well. Captain Sam Parker appeared, standing on a command deck identical to the Blackstar's. Hello, Admiral, Parker said with a grin. USS Thunderbolt reporting for duty. Another screen appeared showing Commander Beth Stevens. USS Lightning standing by. More screens filled the display. Captain Mike Davis on the USS Storm. Commander. Jane Foster on the USS Hurricane. Captain Paul Anderson on the USS Tornado. One by one, dozens of Blackstar-class vessels revealed themselves. Admiral Phillips stared in amazement. How many ships do we have? Morrison's smile grew wider. 57 Blackstar-class dreadnoughts, Admiral. We've been building them in secret shipyards throughout human space. Each one has the same advanced technology and firepower as my ship. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez looked up from his station. Sir, all ships are reporting ready for battle. Weapons charged, stealth systems online, dimensional drives prepared. Morrison turned back to Admiral Phillips. Admiral, we're going to intercept the alien fleet before it reaches Earth. The battle will take place in the Centauri system. Phillips nodded slowly. Jake, are you sure 57 ships can handle 10,000 enemy vessels? Morrison looked around his command deck at the faces of his crew. Lieutenant Commander Pete Johnson was checking navigation systems. Dr. Helen Price was monitoring the ship's advanced weapons. Commander Ryan Brooks was preparing targeting computers. These people had followed him through every battle, trusting in human technology and determination. Admiral, these aliens have made one final mistake, Morrison said. They think numbers matter more than technology. They think quantity can beat quality. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The transmission ended, and Morrison turned to his crew. Johnson set course for the Centauri system, maximum speed. As the USS Blackstar jumped to faster-than-light travel, Morrison opened a channel to all 57 human ships. This is Captain Morrison to all vessels. In 4 days, we face the largest military force ever assembled. The aliens are coming to destroy our homeworld and eliminate our entire species. He paused, looking at the faces of hundreds of human officers on his screen. But they've made the same mistake every bully makes. They think that because they're bigger, they're stronger. They think that because there are more of them, they must win. Morrison's voice grew stronger. They don't understand what they're really facing. Each of our ships represents the best of human engineering. human courage and human determination. We don't just have better weapons and stronger shields. We have something they can never understand. We're fighting for our families, our children, our future. Captain Parker's voice came over the communication system. Sir, all ships report ready for battle. Morrison nodded. Then let's go show these aliens what happens when you threaten the human race. 3 days later, the combined human fleet waited in the Centauri system. 57 Blackstar-class ships hung in space, invisible to all sensors, watching as the massive alien armada approached. Morrison stood on his command deck, watching the tactical display that showed over 10,000 enemy contacts. Hayes, give me numbers on their fleet composition. Hayes checked her instruments. Sir, I count 4,000 Zephyrian ships and 6,000 Catherine vessels, 200 super battleships, 800 heavy cruisers, 3,000 destroyers, and the rest are support ships and troop transports. Dr. Price looked up from her science station. Captain, our sensors are detecting massive energy signatures from their largest ships. They've equipped their super battleships with planet-killing weapons. Morrison's jaw tightened. The aliens weren't just coming to defeat humanity in battle. They were coming to burn Earth and every human settlement to ash. Carter, are you picking up their communications? Morrison asked. Amy Carter nodded grimly. Yes, sir. The alien commanders are discussing which human worlds to destroy first. They want to make examples of our settlements before they attack Earth. Morrison had heard enough. Carter, open a channel to the alien fleet. The communication system crackled to life. Morrison's voice echoed across space to 10,000 enemy ships. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human fleet. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. Laughter filled the communication channel. The voice of Supreme War Admiral Kethval, the highest-ranking Catherine officer, came through. The speakers. One human dares to order the combined might of two empires. Show yourself, Captain Morrison. Let us see this legendary ship that has caused us so much trouble. Morrison looked at his crew one final time. All ships, drop stealth, fields, and power-up weapons. 57 human dreadnoughts appeared on every alien sensor screen at once. The massive enemy fleet found itself surrounded by ships that seemed to shimmer and shift through multiple dimensions. The alien laughter stopped immediately. Supreme War Admiral Kethval's voice came back, filled with shock. Impossible. Our intelligence said humans had only one advanced ship. Morrison's voice was ice cold. Your intelligence was wrong about many things. You thought we were weak because we preferred peace. You thought we were helpless because we tried to avoid war. You thought we would surrender when faced with superior numbers. He paused, watching as the alien fleet tried to reorganize itself to face threats from all directions. You were wrong about everything. Supreme Commander Zexthor of the Zephyrian fleet tried to sound confident. 57 ships against 10,000. You are still outnumbered more than 100 to 1. Even with your advanced technology, you cannot win. Morrison smiled grimly. Commander Brooks, show them what human ships can really do. The space around Centauri lit up with destruction unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 57 human ships unleashed their full firepower against the alien armada. Quantum torpedoes phased through shields and destroyed ships from within. Gravitational weapons created artificial black holes that swallowed entire squadrons. Energy cannons cut through the thickest armor like paper. But this time was different. The sheer number of targets meant the human ships could fire continuously without pause. Every second, dozens of alien vessels exploded or were crushed by impossible forces. The alien fleet tried to fight back, but their weapons couldn't even locate the human ships properly. The dimensional phase drives made the human vessels appear to be everywhere and nowhere at once. In the first 10 minutes of battle, over 3,000 alien ships were destroyed. The survivors tried desperately to escape, but the human fleet was faster and more maneuverable than anything they had ever faced. Supreme War Admiral Kethval's voice came over the radio, filled with terror. We surrender. Please, we surrender. Stop this destruction. Morrison's voice was merciless. You didn't offer surrender to the families you murdered. You came here to eliminate every human in the galaxy. Now face the consequences of your choice. The battle continued for 1 hour. When it was over, The combined alien armada was nothing but scattered debris floating in space. 6 months had passed since the destruction of the combined alien fleet at Centauri. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the command deck of the USS Blackstar as it approached the Zephyrian homeworld of Zephyr Prime. The once mighty planet that had commanded a galaxy-spanning empire now lay defenseless before humanity's power. "Captain, we're receiving surrender signals from the planetary government," reported Communications Officer Amy Carter. "They're requesting permission to speak with you." Morrison nodded. "Put them through." The viewing wall lit up with the image of former War Marshal Kethtai, who had once been one of the most feared military commanders in the galaxy. Now he looked tired and defeated, his proud uniform replaced by simple civilian clothes. "Captain Morrison," Kethtai said, his voice respectful, "on behalf of the Zephyrian people, I formally surrender our world to human authority. We accept full responsibility for the crimes our empire committed against innocent civilians." Morrison studied the alien leader's face. 6 months ago, this same being had been planning to eliminate every human in the galaxy. Now he spoke of surrender and responsibility. The complete destruction of their military forces had changed everything. "Former War Marshal, I want to be very clear about something," Morrison said. "Humanity didn't come here to conquer your people or destroy your civilization. We came to make sure you never again threaten innocent lives." Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes looked up from her tactical station. "Sir, planetary scans show their military production facilities have been completely shut down as requested. No weapons manufacturing, no warship construction." Morrison nodded. Over the past 6 months, both alien empires had followed humanity's demands exactly. All military forces had been disbanded. All weapons factories had been closed. All plans for aggression had been abandoned. "Dr. Price, what's the status of our humanitarian aid program?" Morrison asked his science officer. Dr. Helen Price smiled from her station. "The medical supplies and food shipments are being distributed successfully, Captain. Both Zephyrian and Catherine worlds are recovering from the economic collapse that followed the destruction of their war machines." Morrison felt satisfaction at this news. When both alien empires had suddenly stopped all military production, millions of workers had lost their jobs. Entire planets that had depended on building weapons and warships found themselves without purpose. Humanity had stepped in to help, providing food, medicine, and new technologies to help them rebuild their societies. "Carter, open a channel to the Catherine homeworld," Morrison ordered. The viewing wall split to show both alien worlds. On one side was former War Marshal Kethtai of the Zephyrians. On the other was former Admiral Vexmore of the Catherines, who had once commanded fleets that terrorized this part of the galaxy. "Gentlemen, it's time to discuss the future," Morrison said. "For the past 6 months, both of your species have proven that you can live in peace when you choose to. Your people have worked together on reconstruction projects. Your scientists have shared knowledge to solve problems. You've shown that cooperation works better than war." Former Admiral Vexmore nodded slowly. "Captain Morrison, our people have learned much from humanity's example. We spent so many years fighting each other that we forgot there were other ways to solve problems." Morrison looked at both alien leaders. "That's why I'm here today with a proposal. Humanity is creating something new, a confederation of worlds dedicated to peace, trade, and mutual protection. We want both of your species to join us." Both aliens looked surprised. Former War Marshal Kethtai spoke first. "You would trust us to join your alliance after everything we did?" Morrison's expression grew serious. "Trust must be earned, but everyone deserves a chance to prove they can change. Your people have shown they want peace. Now we're offering you the chance to help build a better galaxy." Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez looked up from his station. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." Morrison nodded. "Put Admiral Phillips through." Admiral Phillips appeared on the screen, looking much more relaxed than she had during the war. "Jake, I have excellent news. The Galactic Council has voted to officially recognize the Human Allied Confederation. We now have 12 member species, including several worlds that were never involved in the war." Morrison smiled. The human-allied confederation had grown rapidly as news of humanity's victory spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had been bullied by larger empires now saw a chance to join something better. "Admiral, we're making progress here too," Morrison reported. "Both former enemy species have submitted formal applications to join the Confederation." Admiral Phillips nodded, approvingly. "That's wonderful news, Jake. The Council has already approved their applications pending a 5-year probation period. If they continue to demonstrate peaceful intentions, they'll become full members." Former Admiral Vexmore looked hopeful. "What would membership in your confederation mean for our people?" Morrison turned back to the alien leaders. "It means protection from other aggressive empires. It means access to human technology and medicine. It means trade partnerships that will make your worlds prosperous. Most importantly, it means your children will grow up in a galaxy where war is no longer the first solution to every problem." Lieutenant Commander Pete Johnson looked up from his navigation station. "Sir, we're receiving reports from our patrol fleets. The Andromedus Empire has been making threatening moves toward the Outer Rim worlds." Morrison's expression hardened. The Andromedus Empire was another aggressive civilization that had been watching the war between humanity and the Zephyrian-Catherine alliance. They had apparently decided that with those empires weakened, it was time to expand their own territory. "Have they threatened any Confederation worlds?" Morrison asked. Johnson checked his reports. "Not yet, sir, but they've been massing fleets near the border and making demands for tribute from independent worlds." Morrison looked at both former enemy commanders on his screen. "Gentlemen, this is your first test as potential Confederation members. The Andromedus Empire is threatening innocent worlds just like your empires once did. Are you willing to help us protect those who cannot protect themselves?" Former War Marshal Kethtai straightened in his chair. "Captain Morrison, the Zephyrian people pledge our full support. We have no military ships left, but we can provide intelligence, supplies, and any other assistance you need." Former Admiral Vexmore nodded firmly. "The Catherine Republic agrees. We have learned that true strength comes from protecting the weak, not conquering them." Morrison felt proud of how far both species had come. 6 months ago, they had been planning genocide. Now they were volunteering to help protect innocent lives. "Thank you both," Morrison said. "Carter, send a message to Admiral Phillips. Tell her we're ready to deal with the Andromeda situation." Amy Carter's fingers flew over her controls. "Message sent, sir." Morrison stood up and walked to the center of his command deck. Through the viewing wall, he could see both alien homeworlds. Cities were rebuilding. Farms were producing food instead of weapons. Children were going to school instead of military training. "Dr. Price, give me a status report on the peace treaty negotiations," Morrison requested. Dr. Price consulted her datapad. "All member worlds have signed the Mutual Defense and Cooperation Treaty, Captain. The document guarantees that no Confederation member will be left to face aggression alone. It also establishes rules for peaceful resolution of disputes between member species." Morrison nodded with satisfaction. The treaty was based on principles humanity had always believed in. That cooperation was stronger than competition, that peace was more valuable than conquest, and that every intelligent species deserved the right to live free from fear. 5. Years later, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the command deck of the USS Blackstar as it patrolled the peaceful Confederation space. The ship's mission had changed from warfare to exploration and protection. Instead of hunting enemy fleets, they now escorted scientific expeditions and responded to calls for help from member worlds. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from New Harmony Station," reported Captain Amy Carter, who had been promoted to serve as Morrison's second in command. Morrison smiled at the name. New Harmony Station was a joint research facility built by former Zephyrian and Catherine scientists working together. It had become a symbol of how former enemies could become partners. "Put them through," Morrison ordered. The screen showed Dr. Kethvi, a young Zephyrian scientist who had never known war. Beside him stood Dr. Vexlin, a Catherine researcher. They were working together on medical advances that would benefit all Confederation species. "Admiral Morrison, we wanted to thank You personally, Dr. Kethvy said. Our breakthrough in quantum healing technology wouldn't have been possible without the peaceful cooperation the Confederation made possible. Dr. Vexlin nodded enthusiastically. Our grandparents spent their lives fighting each other. But by working together, we've discovered things that will help heal diseases across dozens of worlds. Morrison felt a deep sense of satisfaction. This was what victory really looked like. Not destroyed fleets or conquered worlds, but former enemies working together to make life better for everyone. Keep up the excellent work, doctors, Morrison said. The galaxy is a better place because of people like you. As the transmission ended, Morrison looked out at the stars. The war that had once threatened to destroy humanity was now just a memory. In its place had grown something far more valuable, a confederation of worlds working together in peace. The aliens had thought humanity was weak because they chose peace over war. They had learned too late that there was a difference between being unable to fight and choosing not to fight. But more importantly, they had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their ability to turn enemies into allies, and war into peace.